Honestly guys, right now I wanna smash everything in my room. I wanna smash absolutely everything in my room.
Alright, so like I already said, this is gonna be a re-upload, sort of. I'm gonna be mixing my opinion with the second episode as well, and the first. So yeah, let's start. A lot of you guys were pretty upset with my opinion on the first episode, and said I was either being too harsh, I don't know what I'm talking about, or just blatantly saying the most stupid and incoherent shit. And the biggest argument I've seen for the defense of this episode is that it's a foundational episode where it just sets up other things for payoffs. But the setups don't make any fucking sense, and the choices some of the characters make are more ass fucking backwards than the choices the writers made to put 2 episodes of The Mandalorian in the show Book of Boba Fett. But you know what? Enough of me talking trying to convince you in this part of the video. I'll just show you in my review of the first episode. So we open up with the forging Mandalorian chick. I don't really care about her name, but we get a sick montage of her forming a Mandalorian helmet. I'm guessing rebuilding the guild, kind of like the underground form of the Mandalorian faction that we saw in season 1. But look at what she's forging. What the fuck is that? No, please tell me, what is this Chinese Metal Man budget design of the helmet is that? How do Mandalorian helmet designs come from something like this to something absolute dog shit like this? Anyway, we get a ceremony scene of a new member joining, but it gets interrupted by a fucking mutated crocodile, and for whatever reason, when they're fighting this mutated crocodile, they don't fly away. And I don't know, use their fucking rockets on their jetpacks and shoot it in its eye or mouth? When they realize their blasters don't do any damage, and the guy in armor gets absolutely fucking chomped into 2. But they kinda just stand there instead, and just keep on shooting. And there's still a lot of stupid shit that happens in this scene, such as them flying, and then putting detonators on the back of the creature? Like, as if laser bullets wouldn't do enough, you think little detonators will do anything? But it's okay, because after all this tomfoolery, Mando comes in to save the day. Then we get this scene that we already saw in Book of Boba Fett that pretty much we find out Mando got kicked out of the club because he took off his helmet, panning out the runtime moment. And while Mando and Forging Mando chick are talking, we have to learn something already new, that Mando has to go to Mandalore and bathe in this planet's cum or something like that to redeem himself. But the problem being is that the surface is unstable. So how do the writers get around this? Well, they explain that off-screen, Mando met with some guy that was on the surface of Mandalore and found some sort of artifact that was on it and gave it to him. And he basically uses it as an example and tries to prove to the Forging Mando chick that he can go to Mandalore to redeem himself. And that was fine, but the thing is, the writers suffer from something that I like to call show don't tell. Well, clearly the writers don't, but Tim and Moby do. You know these OGs? Man, I miss my childhood. Well, they explain it perfectly.
Show, not tell. Writing's a powerful thing. When you write, you can tell your readers about a situation, helping them understand something that maybe they've never seen before.
And I'm not saying that they should show Mandalore, but they should at least show the guy coming from the planet, or at least some glimpses of it so they don't spoil too much. And instead of Mando giving us exposition he met some Jawas that met another guy that was supposedly on the surface of Mandalore that got this artifact that was crystallized, wouldn't that be kind of important to see his realization? Or even better, if they kept those 2 episodes that they put in Book of Boba Fett and put them into Mandalorian and then rewrote some of the scenes, such as maybe him having a hard time finding any proof or becoming doubtful, and then when he finally meets with the Jawas or with the guy that found it on the surface of Mandalore supposedly, we have a reaction of him having some sort of hope, and then he would come back to the forging chick lady, and then for whatever reason they can set up a conflict for a reason, or maybe reasoning like, oh, I don't want to go back to Mandalore, I don't believe you, or even if there is some sort of habitability, we've been on this planet, we've established our home here, why would I want to leave and then risk even maybe giving my troops away if the planet isn't habitable? And then how the rest of the episode plays out, he goes to Griff Karga and then Bo-Katan for help. And then if both of those parties reject him, he goes by himself. And this would only bring up more questions and then make the telling instead of showing problems, such as why is he wasting his time with this chick if he already knows where to go and has proof of it and should just go anyway. A really good example from another Star Wars IP that suffers from telling not showing is when fucking Poe says this line.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
And one of the first words that pops into my brain is, well, contrived. Contrived storytelling can really bring down your immersion and feeling of the story if you're missing scenes that are quite crucial to the plot. And I understand Rise of Skywalker, like with that problem of showing not telling, well, is much greater of an issue to the story, but I just wanted to use that as an example. I'll come back to this point after the rest of the episode is reviewed. Now this brings me to my next problem, this green fuck being in the way. He literally fucks around and ruins important scenes of dialogue by just being there. No, literally, the director of this episode points the camera at him when the camera should be on Mando, and he literally fucks around with the robot that Mando needs in order to get to Mandalore, but basically he's just there so he can be more of a plot convenience, so they can further the story with more conflict. And like I stated in my Book of Boba Fett episode, they should have just left Baby Yoda with fucking Luke for at least the majority of the season while we explore Mandalore with Din Djarin and we get to see him develop by himself. Now, after he wastes his time with the Forging Mando chick, we get to see the planet that was the main focal point of the story for the last 2 seasons. And it changed, and I like that detail. After being under control of the Hutts and having problems with the Empire right next to their doorstep, and just pretty much being a shithole, to a more Loki independent dealing planet. And that's good, I like that. But the thing is, it's a little bit unconvincing with how fast they developed because of the weird timeline jump they did with Grogu and Luke in Book of Boba Fett. But anyway, we meet up with the character Griff Karga, and we get some filler fight scene that plays out with some pirates. And the scene doesn't make much sense at all because they want to go into a school that was once a bar, and instead of the main guy telling them like, yo, just go somewhere else, they go into an entire firefight when they accuse them of being soft. And it's just really silly, like why are they literally fighting over a fucking pub?
Yes, I can definitely smell shite.
Also, there's a scene of extras running too early before the firefight even happens. And after that, when they get into a firefight and they have the upper hand, they don't kill the other guy. They just let him get away so he could probably come back and perhaps maybe try and take over the place. Because later on, we see them come back again and they have a big-ass fucking ship full of people. So it doesn't really make much sense that they don't make a deal if the planet is trying to be peaceful. But now back to the story, Mando's actually there to find IG-11. And I just find it pretty convenient that IG-11, after that was burning in fucking lava and exploded, they managed to rebuild him from most of his limbs and have his head intact and have all his mechanisms working for the most part when the Mandalorian fixes him. And obviously he malfunctions, so it's not like they completely ignored the explosion that happened. It fucked up his circuits. And we get a really meh fight scene when it was happening. Mando, for whatever reason, struggles to fight off this guy, but a fucking service droid kills it by crushing it with a statue. You know, the same droid that literally runs away from combat. Anyway, it squashes his head under the statue, and most likely damaging a bunch of its circuits and important functionality for the robot to even work. Now, this is where I find the most flawed about the first episode and kind of leads into the second episode, because he needs IG-11 as a guide and sort of just an information teller to let him know that Mandalore is good, like he can walk on it without dying. And now since we have the second episode, we didn't fucking need him. Spoiler alert, he just uses a completely different service droid. Also, one of the parts that he needs to repair is the memory circuit, the very thing that gives the robot personality and all the information it's been holding throughout its entire lifespan. And replacing that pretty much replaces everything. Well, that's just another great plot hole this season has. And I find that really funny because now if you think about it, if a gold statue can flatten its head, why the fuck did the explosion not reduce it to ash and bits? So then they go to a shop and they have this weird dialogue exchange when they were fixing it. Basically, the alien says he can't fix him, and he's speaking generally decent, like English, I guess. I don't know what the language is called in the Star Wars universe. To Din Djarin, and Din Djarin's like, I don't understand. So then,
The bucket.
I don't understand. Do you speak Huttese?
So then he has the fucker explain it to him, but then later in the same scene, he understands what he's saying.
Memory circuit, bucket.
Well, put in a new one.
So what kind of stupid script writing is that? But after its head getting fucking squished, it literally just needs one part, which is its memory part that needs to be fixed. So then Mando kind of just leaves after, and he goes to find a new part. A space battle happens, and it was pretty good actually. I enjoyed myself while, watching it. I just love this one scene where the captain's screaming and he looks constipated, but before it moves on to the next scene. Now for the final scene of the episode, I don't mind it. The dialogue here is really good. I just find it that Mando's wasting his time. Like, he wants allies with him, but the thing is, Bo-Katan can't come with them and literally wants him dead. This sets up a problem for the second episode because she comes to go help him afterwards, even though she literally will do anything to get the Darksaber back. I don't think she even holds it in the second episode, but you know what? We'll talk about that, well, in the second episode, because this final scene of the episode was the only really decent thing that I enjoyed, minus a few other compliments I gave throughout this review. And one last thing I just want to say, I just find it very strange that she's not confused why Grogu's back after going through all the effort of bringing him to Luke Skywalker. But yeah, I just find it very strange, and they kind of acknowledge it in the second episode, but I'll dive into this problem, well, in the second episode. Alright, y'all, believe it or not, I actually enjoyed this episode. I know I've had some negativity on this channel. I will bring some more positivity to it. But outside of that, this episode is really good. Other than a few mistakes that I noticed that were from episode 1 that carried out into here. For starters, the IG-11 whole storyline didn't really matter because he gets another droid that does the job easily. I don't even know why he needed IGN specifically, other than to bring back IG-11 from the dead. Outside of that, another problem I kind of had with the episode was just the weird flip-flopping of Bo-Katan wanting nothing to do with Mandalorian to, yeah, let me save his ass, but I'm having a feeling it's because she wants the Darksaber from him. Another thing I didn't really like was the weird trap guy. The design was fucking sick. How the whole thing was set up, like, how do you know this guy's gonna pick up a Mandalorian helmet that's barely visible? Like, it wasn't even a shiny object, it was just some crummy ass helmet that he picked up. But then he just gets trapped by this entire, well, elaborate trap, and then the rest of the episode it's whatever, I guess. I just don't know why episode 1 introduced all of this stupid convoluted shit with IG-11 when the literal problem of the story was just him finding a droid. Another thing about this episode is that when he does get the droid to check if the planet is even breathable, he just randomly disappears, and then Mando gets out of the ship to find him by pressurizing his helmet, making the whole point of his entire operation pointless. If he could breathe the entire time and then just go into the mines, it really just doesn't make much sense to me. Another thing is that Bo-Katan even takes off and puts on her helmet constantly without even knowing if the planet's also habitable. I think when we get to the planet Mandalore, I think the design of how the planet looks after the bombings looks so fucking sick. You can see on the surface, or at least on outside of the planet, you see multiple hurricanes across the planet. We get to see the absolute destruction that happened to the planet. The weird effect that it had with the crystallization. But my most favorite thing about this was Bo-Katan's reaction to what her home planet turned into. I love her little history lesson and a little bit more backstory on her father because, well, we didn't really know much about her parents and a little bit more of her family life other than her and her sister's drama. And I just loved her in this episode in general. I think she was pretty badass. A lot of people were saying, like, oh, it's this female strong character problem when she was saving the Mandalorian, but no, bro. What is he supposed to do? Try by himself? And what is Grogu supposed to do? So it was kind of sick seeing her wield the Darksaber, showing her, like, oh shit, she's worthy. She can kick the Mandalorian's ass. I love that we get to see how Mandalorians also redeem themselves by bathing in the waters. I was kind of curious on how that was going to go. I kind of found it funny that he kind of just walked in and fucking fell like 50 feet levels of deep water. And then we get to see this big-ass weird creature in there that we got left to see, I guess, how their characters are going to handle in the third episode. But overall, I really enjoyed that part of the episode. And overall, I hope the rest of the story and season does not have any plot holes or stupid character choice making. I know I didn't really break down this episode as long as I did for episode 1, but to be honest, I don't want to make this video 30 minutes long, because by the time I'm finished that video, we all know how I work, it's going to take me another week just to talk about the third episode. Now on to my overall thoughts of these 2 episodes. So yes, I still stick with my opinion about Grogu being in the way. I don't understand why they didn't just have him develop his choice throughout season 3 with Luke. I wish we got to spend more time with them, or better yet, not put them in Book of Boba Fett at all. Outside of that, I think the whole IG-11 plotline was really fucking stupid and didn't make any sense, considering the thing he was looking for wouldn't have even helped him anyway, because the part he was trying to find was the memory circuit, because IG-11 has so much information about Mandalore, and he needed him for that part. And to even see how, even if the fucking Mandalorian planet was habitable, when he could have just used any droid at all for that. And he did that anyway, so I don't know. I didn't really get that storyline at all and why it was implemented. But my hopes for the future is that we actually kind of get to see if Mandalore gets rebuilt. That would be kind of sick. I noticed in episode 1 they teased the space whales and stuff, so we might actually find Ezra, of all characters, in Mandalorian. I wasn't even, like, expecting that at all, as a hint, or perhaps just an Easter egg. But I really hope we get to see his ass again. And if we see him, I think we actually get to see a live action version, perhaps, of Grand Admiral Thrawn, because obviously towards the end of Rebels, we see him with the space whales teleport away, or I guess hyperspace away in this case, with his ass there. So that would be kind of cool if he's there. And honestly, yeah. That's kind of it. See you guys at the 3rd episode, and hopefully I don't get a random fucking copyright claim from a company that I didn't even really use any footage of. Anyway, yeah, see ya.